I'm sorry. That was acting. That's what that was. I don't really care what happens with this movie. I really hope her career is pretty much over.
Because Ellie still looks and acts like a 14-year-old from season 1, even though she's supposed to be 19. Like most people, I liked the first season. I thought they did a great job. Season 2, I was skeptical on them not recasting Ellie and keeping Bella Ramsey as Ellie because it's supposed to take place 5 years into the future, but obviously Bella Ramsey in real life was not going to age that much in, the 2 years it took between seasons. So in the show, Ellie still looks exactly the same, but is supposed to be 5 years older. Also, Ellie still acts exactly the same.
Joel, I think I found something.
Whoa!
What?
Nothing. It's just your forehead seems bigger than last season.
I think I found a way through.
HBO turned The Last of Us into the biggest water cooler show since dragons ruled Westeros, an overnight ratings juggernaut that seemed destined to run for years. Yet only months after that triumph, the franchise has slipped into a chilling hush. No teaser footage, no casting news, and the visionary behind it all suddenly avoiding every question about the future. Whispers of a Frozen Part 3 swirl across Hollywood, and fans are pointing to one lightning rod culprit.
For some reason, they made the decision for The Last of Us Season 2 to make Ellie dumb, to the point where she even says that she's stupid. Why? That just kind of betrays the character.
Yes, maybe we can prop it open with something and you can slide.
Whoa! Oh my god, what?
Is it getting bigger?
Stop it.
No, seriously, what's with that?
It's fine, Joel.
Does it hurt?
Joel, please, you're making me self-conscious.
I'm sorry, it's just a little bit startling.
Normal head, Joel. Can we just get back to the door things?
Planetary.
Leave it.
It's gonna have its own area code soon.
Bella Ramsey. Could a single casting choice really topple TV's most celebrated adaptation? Buckle up, because the answers hiding behind that silence will change how you see the saga forever.
You changed up your impression at all, or is it pretty much the same?
Well, the noise is the same. I've not got any more noises in my back pocket. The new infected are pretty terrifying. They're so smart, and they haven't really got a noise. That's the whole point of them. They're silent and terrifying.
Ooh, give us a little silent and terrifying.
It's never any fun not being able to go to sleep, just like it wasn't any fun watching Last of Us Season 2. So, in the show, Ellie still looks exactly the same, but is supposed to be 5 years older. Also, Ellie still acts exactly the same. So it really conflicts with what the character is supposed to be portrayed as.
For nearly a decade, The Last of Us sat on an untouchable pedestal. The game that proved video games could outstory Hollywood. Players weren't just surviving a fungal apocalypse, they were bonding with Joel and Ellie in a way no script doctor could fabricate. Awards piled up, midnight release lines wrapped around blocks, and critics championed it as the benchmark for interactive storytelling. When HBO swooped in, the buzz was electric. If any studio could translate that emotional gut punch to prestige TV, it was the home of Game of Thrones and Chernobyl. Season 1 didn't just meet expectations, it detonated them. Viewers who'd never held a controller sobbed during the finale. Longtime fans marveled at frame-perfect recreations of iconic scenes. The premiere shattered subscriber records, and water cooler chatter went global. With that kind of lightning in a bottle, audiences assumed the future was bulletproof. Bigger budgets, deeper lore, perfect synergy between gaming royalty and television craftsmanship. Yet those soaring expectations came with razor-sharp edges. Every tiny creative tweak, casting choices, time jumps, even wardrobe details, was dissected by millions. The sequel game's divisive narrative had already exposed fault lines in the fandom, and insiders whispered that satisfying both newcomers and purists would be like defusing a bomb with a sledgehammer. Season 2's mandate was clear: honor the legacy, raise the stakes, and prove that the first-year magic wasn't a fluke. But if history shows anything, it's that the higher you climb, the thinner the air. And when HBO unveiled its plan for who would carry Ellie 5 years into the future, the oxygen all but vanished. The backlash started the instant Ellie's new face hit social media. Within minutes, #NotMyEllie rocketed up the trending lists as fans pored over screenshots and declared Bella Ramsey all wrong for the role. They pointed to her rounder features, her unchanged height, the unmistakable look of a teenager who still seemed locked in Season 1 time. Memes flooded Reddit, side-by-side comparisons filled Twitter threads, and reaction videos dissected everything from her jawline to the tilt of her eyebrows. Supporters fought back just as fiercely. They praised Bella's raw acting chops, her breakout in fantasy television, her fearless attitude toward trolls. They insisted that Ellie's spirit lived in performance, not a perfect digital likeness. But each defense only seemed to sharpen the divide. Critics claimed Bella lacked the quiet intensity of the game's Ellie, while defenders accused purists of shallow gatekeeping. Overnight, the fandom split into warring camps. One demanding recasts, the other rallying around Bella as if she were under siege. HBO tried to steady the ship with glowing press releases and behind-the-scenes footage, yet every official statement felt like lighter fluid on a bonfire. Interviewers asked Bella how she handled the hate. She joked, shrugged, or playfully clapped back, which only fed the outrage cycle. What should have been a simple casting announcement had morphed into a referendum on artistic fidelity, fan entitlement, and who really owns a beloved character. The show hadn't even aired its second season, but fault lines were already spiderwebbing through its foundation, threatening to crack the entire project wide open. And as cameras finally rolled, a whole new problem crept in, one no amount of PR spin could hide. Season 2 opened 5 years later in story, yet the moment Ellie stepped on screen, viewers felt time had stood still. Bella's face, her height, even her restless teenage energy looked untouched by a half-decade of post-apocalyptic survival. In the game, 19-year-old Ellie moves with the wary confidence of someone who has lost too much. On HBO, she still fidgeted like the 14-year-old who first joked about puns in a rundown mall. Suspension of disbelief snapped like a dry twig. Forums and reaction streams lit up with side-by-side shots. Digital Ellie's hardened glare versus Bella's boyish grin. Some accused the producers of school play cosplay, arguing that the story's darker themes, revenge, betrayal, moral decay, need an older, visibly weathered lead to land their punches. Others pointed out that Pedro Pascal's Joel now looked noticeably more grizzled, making the visual gap even starker in every shared frame. Showrunners defended their choice, praising Bella's ability to age through performance, but fans weren't buying it. Rumors flew that HBO considered CGI touch-ups or forced perspective tricks, only to scrap them over budget concerns. Meanwhile, critics started slipping references to the perpetual freshman into otherwise glowing reviews, and meme accounts tallied each time a line meant for an adult fell from a face that still read freshman year. The real trouble, however, wasn't just the look, it was the behavior. Ellie in Season 2 repeatedly calls herself stupid, loses focus in tense moments, and cracks jokes that once felt charming, but now seem jarringly immature amid a blood-soaked quest for vengeance. Viewers who had braced for a battle-scarred woman instead got echoes of a plucky kid, and the tonal clash sent episode ratings on a slow decline. Doubt seeped upward, from Reddit threads to HBO boardrooms, yet the network stayed publicly silent. That vacuum begged a new question. How would Bella herself handle the growing firestorm? The answer, delivered in a series of eyebrow-raising interviews, would turn a brewing controversy into a full-blown crisis. Bella tried to laugh off the mounting criticism, but every interview only seemed to add oxygen to the blaze. When a late-night host asked about the #NotMyEllie trend, she smirked, shrugged, and quipped, "I've got bigger problems than internet trolls." Within minutes, the snippet was clipped, memed, and plastered across reaction channels as proof she was arrogant and out of touch. Entertainment blogs ran breathless headlines about her slapdown, and the backlash hashtag spiked higher than ever. Then came the tweets, short, cryptic jabs that fans took as digs at dissenters. One post read, "Playing a character means change. Some people fear that." Another simply said, "Unbothered." Screenshots spread faster than spores, and suddenly Bella's notifications were a battlefield of clapping hand emojis from supporters and pitchfork GFs from diehards demanding a recast. The divide that Season 1 had papered over was now a full-blown canyon. Behind studio doors, alarm bells rang. HBO's sentiment dashboards, color-coded charts executives pretended not to watch, flashed crimson. PR handlers yanked Bella from 2 press junkets, ordered media coaching, and tightened her social media schedule. Rumors leaked of last-minute edits to soften scenes where Ellie's maturity gap felt widest. Even Neil Druckmann, usually the franchise's public hype man, skipped a scheduled podcast appearance, citing creative deep focus. Fan petitions exploded. One Change.org page titled, "Save Tilu, Recast Ellie for Season 3, hit 200,000 signatures in a weekend, eclipsing HBO's own marketing pushes. Every official trailer drop was ambushed by comments about Bella's teen face, drowning out discussion of plot twists or new infected designs. Internally, the board tapped crisis consultants, but their advice was brutal. Either double down and ride out the storm or cut losses before long-term brand damage set in. Either double down and ride out the storm or cut losses before long-term brand damage set in. HBO chose silence, and that hush, amplified by Bella's sudden media blackout, felt louder than any statement. Wild theories filled the vacuum, but one rumor surged above the rest. Whispers that all work on The Last of Us Part 3 had quietly ground to a halt, because the controversy around its leading star had finally become too big to hide. The next shock would make those whispers impossible to ignore. First came the missed milestone. A mid-season marketing push was supposed to unveil a teaser for Part 3, but the scheduled livestream evaporated without a word. Staffers who'd been building concept art all winter were abruptly reassigned to unrelated projects. One animator leaked that her entire sequence folder was zipped, archived, and locked behind fresh NDAs. Like the show never existed, she whispered on an anonymous forum. Overnight, internal emails shifted from bold timelines to vague TBDs, and production budgets were flagged under strategic review. In less corporate terms, the money faucet had been shut off. Outside the studio bubble, the silence felt deafening. Neil Druckmann, normally a fountain of cryptic teases, went dark, canceling panels and deleting a tweet thread that hinted at Ellie's final journey. Investors noticed too. On an earnings call, an analyst asked whether The Last of Us was still greenlit. The exec's answer, "We remain committed to premium IP," sounded like a rehearsed dodge, and the stock dipped 3 points before the line even disconnected. Entertainment trades sniffed a story, but HBO offered only boilerplate. No updates at this time. Translation for fans, something had gone seriously sideways. Behind closed doors, the picture was uglier. Early estimates put the season 3 budget north of $180 million. $80 fine when viewership was soaring, fatal when audience sentiment trended negative. Risk models suddenly showed a franchise that could hemorrhage cash if backlash kept growing. A confidential memo, later leaked, floated creative hiatus as the safest option until public opinion stabilized. Word spread faster than any official statement ever could. Part 3 hadn't been canceled outright, but it was now buried so deep on the slate it might as well be vaporware. With everything frozen, speculation rushed in to fill the void. Some insiders blame ballooning VFX costs or scheduling knots, but most fans drew a straight line to the controversy swirling around Ellie herself. If the lead actress divided the base this sharply, maybe the only path forward was radical. Start over with a new face. And that's when another name, whispered for years, roared back into the spotlight. The rumors said she was already on HBO's speed dial, ready to reboot the role the moment the axe fell on Bella. Her name? Caitlin Dever, and her shadow was about to loom over the entire franchise. Then a familiar name started echoing through message boards like a ghost of the timeline fans thought they'd lost, Caitlin Dever. For years, her resemblance to the game's Ellie felt almost eerie, wide, determined eyes, that pointed chin, the wiry athleticism of someone who's scrambled over more fences than she's opened doors. She'd proven range too, stealing scenes in edgy comedies and shredding hearts in prestige dramas, exactly the mix of grit and vulnerability that sells a scarred but surviving 19-year-old. Word leaked that she'd been on HBO's original shortlist before scheduling conflicts kicked her out of contention. Now, with Part 3 iced and calendars suddenly wide open, insiders claimed her reps were taking calls again. The pitch making the rounds was bold. Drop a limited series soft reboot, new timeline, new Ellie, same apocalypse. Center it on Dever, and lure back the disillusioned gamers who'd sworn off the show. One source swore the network even mocked up test footage, digitally aging Dever into the game's infamous barn scene, just to prove how seamless the swap could look. Fan sentiment flipped almost overnight. Petitions that once demanded Bella's recast mutated into love letters, begging HBO to give Ellie to Caitlin. Thumbnail analysts compared every facial nuance, compiling side-by-side montages that rocketed to the algorithm's front page. In a twist of irony, the same community that splintered over casting finally seemed united, around the idea of handing the role to someone else. Behind locked conference room doors, the proposal landed with both promise and peril. Yes, a Dever-led reboot could mend fences, but it would also mean admitting the original strategy failed, dumping millions of sunk costs, reshooting key scenes, and risking a fresh backlash for erasing Bella. Executives pored over spreadsheets, PR teams drafted crisis-turn-comeback roadmaps, and attorneys weighed payout clauses like they were balancing explosives. Whichever path they choose, one truth looms. The next decision will either resurrect the franchise or bury it for good. And as ripple effects hit Bella's career, and perhaps the entire cast, the fallout could rewrite Hollywood playbooks on fan power forever. But before we decide who really holds the detonator, there's one more piece of this chaos puzzle we need to examine. Hollywood careers can pivot on a single headline, and Bella's have been a roller coaster of PR fire drills ever since the first #NotMyEllie tweet. Casting directors who once saw her as the next Saoirse Ronan now double-check sentiment charts before offering scripts, afraid their budgets will inherit the same fan crossfire. 2 prestige projects quietly rescheduled after the Part 3 freeze. one indie director admitted off-record he loved her audition but couldn't risk free marketing in the form of hate clicks. Even Bella's team has tightened the reins. No improv on talk shows, social feeds scrubbed of sarcasm, every post curated like a campaign memo. Talent isn't the question. Optics are, and in an industry where perception sells tickets, that question can be a deal breaker. Meanwhile, HBO's boardrooms look less like creative hubs and more like war rooms. Every option on the whiteboard bleeds money. Keep Bella and pray the storm calms, recast and swallow reshoot costs, or mothball the franchise until nostalgia rewrites the narrative. Each path risks alienating a different slice of the audience, and executives know they're one misstep from watching a billion-dollar IP sink beneath algorithm waves. The cast and crew hover in limbo, contracts paused, sets dismantled, scripts locked in vaults, because no one signs their next job until they know whether Joel and Ellie still have a tomorrow. Yet history shows fandoms can forgive almost anything if the comeback hits hard enough. A clean slate reboot with Caitlin Dever could unite purists, or Bella could stun everyone with a career-best turn that flips critics into evangelists. The question isn't just whether The Last of Us can survive. It's whether the people steering it are bold enough to choose a direction before the moment to act is gone. So where do you stand? Does Bella deserve the chance to finish Ellie's journey, or is a full reboot the only cure for franchise fatigue? Drop your take below. Because one thing's certain, whatever decision lands next will echo far beyond a single show, rewriting the rulebook on how much power viewers really wield.